One shot. Let's begin. Detective Gengetsu's case files. Um, this would probably be like a five-part video of a one shot because these are long mysteries. Or at least until the end of the case in the museum murder. So let's begin, everybody. We'll try different voices this time. The Modern Museum of Culture, History, and Arts, a grand new exhibit on jewelry throughout history, was supposed to open on Monday, July 24th, 2024. But just a few hours before the grand opening, the curator of the exhibit was found dead in a storage room. Oh, I heard about that case on the news. Nothing was stolen, so it was deemed to be not a robbery. But that's strange. On the news, they said that the case was still in progress. And what's more, they didn't list you as one of the detectives on the case. Well, usually it takes time for them to go public with the results of cases. And as for me, not being mentioned, I have reasons for not wanting to be associated with this case. So I made sure that the press wouldn't blab about me. Oh, of course, I see. My goal is to make Detective Gengetsu the world's most renowned detective, and it looks like I can't do it just blindly. I can't boost his fame using case he doesn't want to be associated with. Mystery number 9. Why does Gengetsu not want to be associated with the case of the museum murder? So, who hired you? The police? The museum staff? Good question. I got hired myself, my guess. Enough of topics. Let me continue. The victim was a clever fellow. He secretly installed life signature reading devices throughout the museum. Thanks to him, we have a data on the number of people in the museum at all times. Now, Genki-kun, why would devices like that be necessary? Because of the security hacking crime tool. Exactly. As it turns out, the security hacking crime tool can interfere with high-tech stuff like cameras and robots, but it can't shut down extremely basic technology, like the life signature reading devices. It's an arms race between crime cops and detectives. Anyways, there are 6 key persons in this case. They were all inside the museum at some point after it closed on Sunday, and their testimonies match up with the data from the life signature readers, so none of them are lying about the period of time that they were inside the museum. Right, Genki-kun? What do you think they could have lied? What do you think? Could they have lied? They could have if 2 of them were lying together. This was me. This was me. In their testimonies, they could switch the time period they claim was theirs. Spot on. Good job, Genki-kun. Of course, it would also be 3 or more people swapping their time periods. In any case, if we were to detect a time period swap, then everyone in the cycle would be suspicious. Of perjury at the least. And now, I'll introduce the 6 key figures. Sekai Kai Hiroshi, victim curator of the exhibit. Corrado Takashi, middle manager of the museum. Katsuragi Yumiko, museum director. Corrado Kaito, security employee, son of Corrado Takashi. Nakemono Kenji, security employee. Kagami Nesiedo, museum custodian. I can't remember all that. Oh, Bonnie! Don't worry, all the case data is in the tablet. Whoa, there's all kinds of data and images. Oh, those are some random photos I got from their social medias. I should keep this in mind for later. Strange. Back on topic, there were only 2 security guards for a jewelry exhibit. In the modern age with robot security, it's considered laughable and bad PR to have too much human security. I assume our poor victim, little Kabasai Itaki, Hiroshi-chan, couldn't convince him to hire any more staff. That would be why he set up the life signature readers. Human security is bad PR? That's so silly. That's the world we live in, Genki-kun. But wait, that's weird. In a world where even security is done by robots, is it necessary to hire a human custodian? Since you're not actually at the scene investigating, I'll set the bar low. You don't need to give me a complete logical deduction. Just give me an educated guess. Find out who amongst the 6 was responsible for the case of the museum murder. Leave it to me! So we're not ruling out suicide, huh? Mystery number 10. Who was the culprit behind the case of the museum murder? I'm going to give you the info you need for your deductions. It might be overwhelming at first. He's testing my memory, ability to prioritize information, and linguistic and logical intelligence. I'll do my best. First, Let's review the time periods. Each person reported being in the museum. We start on the evening of Sunday, July 23rd, 2024. Hiroshi-chan stayed after the museum closed at 2000. He wanted to keep an eye on the exhibit until the grand opening the next morning. He was guarding the exhibit all alone? For a while, yeah. Kuroda Kaito and Namakemono's shift started later. Hiroshi-chan's freshly killed corpse was discovered at 0310. We don't know when he died. Because of the time stop serum? Exactly. Next. Kuroda Takahashi. I'll call him Takahashi since there are two Kurodas. Takahashi was inside the museum from 2100 to 2230. He was called to the museum by his superior museum director, Katsuragi. They had an argument. He stayed a while after that and then left. As for Katsuragi, she was there from 2115 to 2200. She made Takahashi wait and left right after the argument ended. Kaito showed up on time for security shift at 2215. Namakemono always came late by an hour, but this time he was only late by a bit. He arrived at 2235, but even then, he was doing his job properly. He was on his phone in the employee office the whole time, according to him. Gengetsu-san didn't bother to mention when Kaito and Namakemono left. In that case, they must have both stayed until the body was discovered and the investigation began. Kagami, the custodian, had the latest shift. He showed up at 3. And he discovered the body at 3:10. Kagami was the one who discovered the body? The museum was supposed to be open at 9. But of course, sadly, not a single visitor got to see Hiroshi-chan's exhibit that day. The police arrived at 3:20. Kagami, Kaito, and Namakemono stayed a part of the investigation, and Takashi and Katsurogi were called in. The investigation was put on pause at 10, and they all left after all that. That's all you need to know about the timeline. Next topic. The key figures were asked in private who they thought was the most culpable out of all of them. Here's how they answered. More info? I'm not even done taking notes of the timeline. Takashi suspected Katsuragi, saying that she was jealous of Hiroshi-chan's fame and how he kept creating popular exhibit. Katsuragi suspected Takashi. She seems to have had a long and unhealthy history with him and always micromanaged him. Kaito suspected Katsuragi. He doesn't like her, and he might have heard his dad complain about her. Namakemono suspected Kaito. That's not too strange. It's like a prisoner's dilemma. Prisoners, what? And Kagami told everyone before that he was abstaining from the vote. Gengetsu-san, I can't keep up. And for the final info dump, I'll elaborate on their relationship. Does Gengetsu-san really expect to keep with all this info? There's no way. It's just not possible. Takashi helped with the funding from Hiroshi-chan's war exhibits in the past, so they were friendly acquaintances. Kaito's a huge fan of those war exhibits. The whole reason he came to work at this museum, he got his dad to hire him. Kagami is also a fan of Hiroshi-chan, and they've known each other for a long time. Kagami's boss is Takeshi. Apparently, Kagami doesn't know of any of the employees well. Takahashi's antagonist is Katsuragi, who's his direct boss. And Katsuragi looks down on Namakemono, since he slacks off at work. And in return, he hates her back, and slacks off at work even harder. In fact, all the employees hate her. From what I've heard, Namakemono and Kaito are just co-workers, and they've only shared the same shift a few times. Not much of a connection. Although, Namakemono does report to Kaito's dad, Takashi, and Genki-kun! Brain trying to escape. Don't worry, I pay attention. Sorry, my memory isn't good. I didn't live up to your expectations. Genki-kun, I think you've got the wrong idea. I never expected you to retain all that info in the first place. You don't need to be able to memorize 1,000 books to be a detective. Of course, there are genius detectives who can easily do that. We can't do what they do, but we can fight on their level. Genki-kun, just now I was looking for your resourcefulness. Resourcefulness? Writing everything down word for word, trying to commit it all to memory? You shouldn't be brute forcing it like that. Even at school, you learn to organize info to make it easier to understand. With visual aids, for example. Visual aids? Why didn't I think of that? For example, how could you visualize the time when people were in the museum? Well, that's obvious. I could use a chart, senpai. Good. Good. I'll give you 70 points for that answer. What? Only 70 again? It's good, but it's more complicated than it needs to be. You don't need to mark the y-axis with 15-minute intervals. Just list the relevant times, and don't worry too much about scaling. Simple is best. It's a detective's mantra. I see. Then it should look like this. Ooh. Wow. It's so easy to understand now. Even though I was so overwhelmed before. Okay. Sure, fair enough then. That's the power of visual aids. Next, how would you visualize who cues to whom? And remember, you viewers can try to answer before Genki can. I'm not gonna answer before him. How about a table with a count for each suspect? In making your visual aid, you've lost some key info. Key info? Who accused whom? I only kept the whom. Right. Also remember that we're not ruling out suicide. Something like this. Great. That'll do. And finally, the relationships, right? Leave it to me. I'm getting the hang of these. How's this? Boss subordinate, boss father subordinate, boss stacker. Wow, you got this one quick. I've seen these daggers in manga, so it's easy. Good. Now that we have visual aids, are there any new patterns that stick out to you? Share them, even if you think they're obvious or unrelated to finding the culprit. Alright, let's look at these before we go further here. I was reading, but I was not comprehending. I will say that. And when that info dump came, I was like, okay. This is the chart. That's the chart. They thought the girl's guilty. She was only there for a little bit. The janitor discovered the person, and then, okay, cool. I guess you could figure it out. Pause now and do it there. Besides Kagami, who didn't vote, Namakemono's the only one no one voted as a suspect. Interesting. There are two types of patterns. Patterns that have logic behind them, and patterns that don't. Do you think there's any logic behind Namakemono not being suspected? Well, maybe it was his personality. He was known to be lazy and had bad work ethic. Also, the entire time he was at the museum, Kaido was there as well. Even if they didn't patrol together, it still makes Namakemono less suspicious. Makes sense. Anything else? There's a chance that Takahashi and Kaito just picked Katsurugi out of spite. And it contradicts what I said earlier, so I wonder why Namakemono picked Kaito. I mean, they were in the museum for a long time together. Perhaps Namakemono noticed that these trains while they were both there. Unfortunately, Namakemono said he didn't notice anything suspicious. This might have just been a pseudo-prisoner's dilemma. What is that exactly? Basically, true prisoners both get the same choices. In private, either accuse the other one of a crime or keep quiet and protect the other prisoners. If both keep quiet, they both get 1 year in jail. If they both betray each other, they both get 10 years. If only one betrays the other, the betrayer is freed and the betrayed gets 50 years. In our case, if Namakemono kept quiet and Kaido said that Nakamono was the culprit, then Namakemono might be in trouble. So maybe Namakemono was just trying to lower Kaido's reputation to save himself. But, like you said, Namakemono's a lazy guy. I doubt he thought through things that much. In any case, I can tell that you now know how to organize information and make inferences from that info. Time for a big question. So far, who do you think is the culprit? Oh, okay. No, he said what we thought. We'll see. Kagami is the most suspicious one, isn't he? He discovered the body, after all. By traditional theory, the one who discovers the body is the most suspicious. Sure. Especially in this case, because the body was fresh upon discovery. But that's not good enough considering that the time stop theorem exists. But the circumstantial evidence is there. Kagami arrived at 3 and found the body at 3:10. Isn't that strange? I didn't think that. Kaido and Namakemono were there for 5 hours, and neither of them stumbled upon the body. There's no way Kagami could have found the body in just 10 minutes unless he had prior knowledge. Well, that's a convincing theory, but let's set it aside for now. Detectives need to consider all the possibilities. After all, a theory could lead to a dead end, or a criminal mastermind could be manipulating the way you think. I see. Isn't it weird that he shut down my Kagami theory so quickly and manipulate the way I think? By shutting down my theory, isn't Gengetsu-san doing just that? Let's move on to the next topic, the body. It was found in the storage room in the back. Open the crime scene photo in the case files. What's the meaning of this photo? His arm is missing! The arm was later discovered in a different storage room. The criminal hastily stashed it in the cabinet. It was easy to find because blood was leaking out of the cabinet. Mystery number 11. Why would the criminal leave his arm there? Alright, Genki-kun. Examine the photo and tell me what you find. First of all, these cuts in the chest are very deep and clean. Perhaps the laser chisel crime tool was used to slice the body like tofu. Is it just me? Or did Gengetsu-san's whole vibe just change? Right. Anything else? This is very bizarre. There's no blood. There's not a single drop of blood near the severed arm. Very curious, isn't it? If you drain the blood somehow and then move the body there, that might explain things. But there's a lot of blood from the chest that leaked down to the floor, so that's not it. Mystery 12. Why is there no blood around the severed arm? And more importantly, why would the criminal cut off the arm in the first place? A message? But why take the risk for such a message? A calling card? But I haven't heard of any similar cases in recent years. Mystery 13. Why did the criminal cut off the arm? I'll give you a hint. It's a bit of a digression, but you don't know anything about Crime Corp, right? I was about to talk about it at some point anyway, so why not now? Let's see if you could solve the arm mystery before I finish my talk. Alright, it's on! If you want to become a detective in this country, this is essential information. Crime Corp is the government agency that deals with justice are a symbiotic organism. The detective unit is barely allowed to function, but is relatively powerless. What? But why wouldn't the government work with the detective to stop crime instead? Controlled crime. The government doesn't care about crimes like murder, like a murder or two. Instead, they use crime to create a stable society and prolong their rule. Detectives are just a nuisance because we want to prevent all crime, whereas the government wants to use crime so they limit our means. What? That's horrible! Some detectives enjoy the extra challenge. Those psychos celebrate whenever a new crime tool is patented. But yeah, this world is messed up. By the way, Crime Corp collects data from their crime tools. Number 1, the purchaser. The usage metadata location, time, etc.
Pixel 9.
Sorry, I'm always doing whatever here. Oh gosh, sorry about that. That distracted me. He did not say Pixel 9. The usage metadata, location, time, etc. User preferences and settings, error logs, and so on. But then Crime Corp knows who commits every crime. The government could get the data and catch all the criminals in one fell swoop. They'd rather sell out their own military before Crime Corp. But Crime Corp does reveal some data if you manage to bring a criminal to court. And this is the funniest part. The data from their crime tools are digitally verifiable, confirmed as fact. They call it digital truth. But here's the catch. Crime Corp isn't legally required to reveal their data, so they only reveal data that ends up obfuscating as case. Digital truth. It's their silver weapon that they use to slay us. Then, is there no way to get a criminal convicted? No, of course you can. You just have to solve crimes the classical means, like traditional investigation and argument. Since the digital evidence route is closed off to us. But if you could create a situation where Crime Corps gain more by naming a culprit than not, they'll give up the culprit. But is it really so easy to create such an ultimatum? It's nearly impossible. And what's worse, you need a situation where Crime Corps gains more by naming a culprit. So in most cases, you end up creating a situation where Crime Corp ends up profiting massively, and society ends up losing in the long run anyways. It's mostly detectives who are emotionally fixated in the case who would try it. So, even if you beat Crime Corp, they win in the end? Well, we do win something. If you get Crime Corp to admit that a crime tool is used in a crime, the government freezes the usage of that crime tool and bans that criminal from ever purchasing Crime Corp. This applies even for cases long in the past. No statute of limitation applies. And what's more, if you know a criminal is planning to commit a crime with the crime tool X, Proving it's been used in any previous case will get it frozen and ruin the criminal's plan. And that ends my little talk of Crime Corp. Have you figured out the arm thing yet? I have. There's always a chance, even though it's rare, that Crime Corp will sell out their customers. Thus, the arm was cut off to hide the fact that he used a time-stop serum crime tool. If no one found out, no one could bring up the case against Crime Corp in court. Also, not knowing about the serum would strengthen the time-based alibi. You got it. Crime tools even come with instruction manuals on how to hide their usage. Although, if the criminals were smarter, they wouldn't have used a laser chisel crime tool to cut off the arm. Such a clean cut arouses the suspicion of a crime tool usage. Right. They could have thrown us off the scent somehow, like cutting off their limbs as well. Only cutting off one arm made their intent kind of obvious. Mystery number 13 solved. The arm was cut off to hide traces of injection from the serum. Back to an earlier point. Now I get why the criminal would try to hide the arm. Mystery number 11. Why would the criminal leave the arm in the museum? But not what caused him to do it in such a sloppy way. Still, there's another question I can answer now. Assuming the serum was involved, then the reason there was no blood around the severed arm, but there was blood leaking from the chest, is because after slashing with the victim's chest, they injected the serum and then cut off the arm. Due to the time-stop serum effects, the arm didn't bleed. And maybe the criminal didn't realize how easy it would be to discover the arm's hiding spot. Because when they were hiding it, the arm wasn't bleeding at all. And then before they could finally retrieve the arm, the serum's effects wore off and it started bleeding. Am I right? Yeah, you're right. Good job. Mystery 12 solved. There is no blood near the arm because it was cut off after the serum was used. Cookie break time. Are they still... Okay, man. How much longer is this thing here? Okay, this is a... Huh? Okay, we got about... I don't know how many pages here. Okay, we're gonna come back to this because again, it's another. You know, it's only about 20 some odd pages here, but like 20 odd some odd pages for this is like 20 more minutes. Okay, so a couple of things because this is cookie break time. We're gonna say whatever here. I think this is interesting. I think this is infinitely more interesting, probably for the viewer in this case, than it is to like me personally, because as I'm reading something so long, then it's very what's the word? It's hard for me to keep track of everything. Like this data thing, if they just had those charts first hand, I probably would have been more invested. I also don't believe this thing here where it's like, oh, why is there not a single drop of blood? Lasers cauterize wounds. They like, you know, just like that. Yeah, they cauterize wounds. So I figured there'd be no blood because of that there. And all this lore about Crime Corp is interesting, right? And so I don't think it's that bad at all. And I think it's interesting. Hey, we got to make sure that the criminals don't get caught using our weapons because then we're held accountable. That'd be really nice if, you know, in this country, so that was the thing. Like, hey, you use this gun? Well, sorry, we can't use that gun. Or we'd at least ban automatics in this country. I am kind of liking the fact that this guy this kid is figuring things out. You know, he's making charts, he's helping critically think. It does seem like it's more of a mentorship now in this case here, when it's not done with all that weird, like, he's a parent, neat type stuff. Where it's like, okay, he's guiding them through this process here, he's helping them develop skills, he doesn't need to be a genius here, and he's helping them get all the data. And I really, really like that aspect of it here. And explain the prisoner's dilemma and all this. I think it's great. As well. I just think it would have been done better over several longer things here. Because this controlled crime thing, I think, is an interesting one as well. Why would they hide the usage, or why would they do this, that, or the other? Yeah, and I guess that's just about everything I'd have to say about this, too. It's nice. I'm enjoying this so far. Wait, oh, is this the little break they have? Okay, I guess I'll stop. I'll read 2 more pages, then we'll call it. It's now clear that the time-stop serum was used. So to find the culprit, we could simply ask the following question. Who used the serum? But actually, that doesn't get any closer to finding the culprit. Gengetsu-san, why is he laughing? Did I miss something really obvious? Like this was a fake case you didn't realize? Or I was a criminal all along? Sometimes that's just how it is, Genki-kun. You don't get a reward every time you put in effort. It's the same for gacha games, detective works, and life. But I honestly don't know what to do now. Because come to think of it, the serum has a secondary usage. It could be used like chloroform. Takeshi and Kai were suspicious to me because they were the only ones alone at some point. But now there's the possibility that the criminal used the serum as a potential witness knocking them out. Everyone's equally suspicious again. I don't think you have to worry about that. I thought the same thing as I questioned the key figures, and none of them mentioned anything like a period of missing memories, or time skipping or feeling dizzy or waking up. I see that Takeshi and Kai were suspicious to me after all, but I don't know how to back up my suspicion. In any case, I feel like I don't have nearly enough to work with. You couldn't be more wrong, Genki-kun. You now possess all the pieces of the puzzle. You have everything you need to solve the mystery and uncover the culprit. Boom. Alright, I guess we'll see the culprits for next time here. I usually don't mind when videos are this long here. And I apologize for showing a lack of interest in this one here. I think it has a lot of potential and a lot of ideas here that could be done well. And I think that it is doing some ideas very well in respect here. I guess the thing is this one just feels a little bit clunkier when it's all done at once like that, you know? But the art is there. I like this guy's demeanor more goes on. I like the more mentory relationship now that he's actually guiding him. He's learning things. He's getting skills. Versus that he's just a complete con man, right? I like this so far. And I guess that's everything, everybody. So with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being born, y'all. Peace out.